Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Dear brothers and sisters, we're coming to the end of chapter number 31. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala summarizing everything in that chapter by saying that everything in his or under his command. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. Indeed, Allah knows what's in the belly of each mother. That baby, that fetus, Allah knows his sex, either a male or a female. Allah knows if he would be happy or unhappy. Allah knows when this person will die. Allah knows what this person will earn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he knows everything. And the message is very clear that in order for you to get the best, do the best. Do the best. Follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obey His commandments. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then said, وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيْ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. Any soul does not know what it will earn tomorrow. Nobody knows. Tomorrow, I'm going to still have my job or I'm going to lose my job. Tomorrow, I'm going to lose my house or I'm still having my house. So on and so forth about everything. So in order for you or order for me to get the best from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide us with the best sustenance, with the best provisions, with the best rizq, we're supposed to do what? Obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Follow Him, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Indeed, those who will depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help, put their affairs in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hand, what's going to happen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of them. That's exactly what Allah said. مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. Nobody knows the future, but I can have the best outcome in the future by taking advantage of the moment right now and make this moment is a moment of obedience. Moment of making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy. By doing the good actions. By doing the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By earning the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتٍ. Indeed, any soul does not know where it will die. That means the way you will die, the status and the state which you will be dying upon, it's also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala control it. That means it's very important to die on a state of iman, to die on a state of faith, to die on a state of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people die worshipping Allah, doing prayers, or fasting, or doing hajj. Other people die inside a bathroom. Other people die watching something they're not supposed to watch. Some people die or overdose on drugs. Some people die, doing fornication or adultery where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Some people, so many different things. It depends on what you do on a daily basis. Some people die listening to music, dancing. So what you really do, 99, you'll die on one of these scenes which you basically do on a daily basis. If 99% of your life, of your time is obedience to Allah, most likely you will die on a state of obedience. But if 99% is disobedience, most likely you will die on a state of disobedience. And in the place of disobedience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, even the place you die on in is, it can be a state of disobedience. So make sure you don't go to places of disobedience and stay in places of obedience. Most likely you will obey Allah in the masjid of Allah. So make sure you come frequently to the place of worship, being to the masjid. Make sure you stay away from the places of disobedience of Allah, like social media, watching things we're not supposed to watch, having conversations with people we're not supposed to have a conversation with. You know, all these things are very important. Make sure you, when you are selling something, you are honest person. So everything we do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can. It's Allah's like the director of the movie we're living in. Allah will direct each one of us life to make the scene, the last scene of his life, either the best or the worst. Because the scene where you will die upon, it's a scene where you will face Allah at the day of judgment on. If somebody, died on obedience, you will face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that obedience. If somebody who, becoming disobedient and will die on disobedience, he will face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on disobedience, and the end results will be, unfortunately, hell. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Inna Allah alimun khabir. Indeed, Allah, He knows everything. Allah, He knows everything, and expert, alim means He knows everything. Khabir means He knows even the minute details. Every small details He's aware of. Why, Ya Allah? And this is good to have, because He will know what the good deeds you do, even the small ones, even in secrets, even the intentions. Some people will be rewarded on their intentions, even if they didn't do, or if they don't do the act. And also, He will know, He knows what the wrongdoers are doing. So He will be holding them responsible, accountable for their actions. So from there, at the end of these chapters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters, He have made, planned everything in this life, in our life, by wisdom. And He was gonna keep telling us these wisdoms in this book, so we'll reflect upon them and we'll act righteously. أقول قولي هذا